So now let's talk about bass drum techniques. I think it's really important if you're starting out to be aware of the different techniques. When I sat behind the kit for the first time, I played, well, get to the specifics later on, but when I sat behind the kit, I played heel up. I didn't even know such a thing as heel down existed. I didn't know slide or heel toe, those kind of techniques existed. I just sat behind the kit, once again, caveman Cobus, and I just stomped the pedal into the skin. That was pretty much my approach. I think it's awesome if you know what the different techniques are. I think it's really important to be aware of the different techniques. I'm just going to run through them really quick, but I'm not going to get too much into detail with each of these techniques. I'll just demo them and show you the differences between heel up and heel down, and using the slide technique for a double stroke and using the heel toe technique for a double stroke. And I think I might also speak a bit about pros and cons for each, because they're totally different techniques. The heel toe and the slide, and heel up and heel down. I'll start with the way that I don't play very often, and that's heel down. That's actually the way that most drummers play when they sit behind the kit for the first time. I think the way that the pedal works, that's the natural way of playing it if you sit behind the kit for the first time. So heel down is pretty much exactly what it says it is, and it just means that your heel is down. So your heel is actually on the pedal itself. It's resting on the pedal. And to get a stroke, you just press down on the pedal and you bring it back. So that's what this looks like. That's heel down. You use totally different muscle groups between heel down and heel up. I never play heel down. Well, I use it for when I do heel toe, but I never use this extensively in songs and in styles. So even now, just demonstrating this, the front of my calves are working really hard because I never use those muscles. I play heel up, and what heel up looks like is, once again, just what it says it is. It's resting the front of your foot on the pedal and lifting your heel up. That's kind of the resting point of the technique, I'd say. This is where you are when you're not playing strokes. The heel just kind of suspended in the air, and there's some tension in your foot keeping your heel in the air. And to play a stroke, I just pop up my whole foot and kind of let it fall back down, letting the beater hit the skin. So I use the whole weight of my leg, just popping it up and let it fall back down to hit the beater into the skin. That's what this looks like. So immediately you can hear the difference in tone and in volume between heel down and heel up. That's why heel down is used mostly, well, not mostly, but many jazz players love heel down because it's got a lot more kind of finesse to it. It's a lot softer, it's a lot more delicate, whereas heel up is kind of used by, I guess, people who play rock and hard rock and metal and stuff like that, because it's got a lot more power behind it. You're not just using certain muscles to get the note, you're using the weight of your whole leg and letting that hit the beater into the skin. So it's got a lot more volume, the tone is a lot different, it's got a lot more attack than heel down, which is a lot more kind of subdued and chill and soft. One of the other main differences between the two techniques, as you might have noticed, is the fact that when I play heel up, the beater is resting against the skin the whole time. That's the resting point. So if I want to produce a stroke, I kind of let the beater hit the skin, but then it stays there. And it's exactly the opposite for the heel down. When the heel is down, the beater is kind of off of the skin, and when I hit the skin, I produce the note and it comes back. That's the resting point. So it's completely different. You're kind of, I'd almost say, you're kind of muting the skin when you're playing heel up, because you're kind of just muting it the whole time with the beater, and when you want to produce a note, then you bury into it. They call this burying the beater in the head. So the beater is kind of resting on the head. I'll just demonstrate again so you can see the difference in producing a note between heel up and heel down. This is heel up. And now heel down. So immediately, huge difference between the two. I think it's quite apparent, once again, the tone and the volume that all plays a role. I think one of the reasons why the jazz guys really love heel down is because the beater isn't touching the skin the whole time, so it's got a lot of resonance. When you hit the skin of the bass drum, it kind of lets the bass drum breathe and resonate, and it's a really nice live sound. Whereas if you play heel up and you're kind of keeping the beater on the skin, it's a really pronounced, fat, loud, it's got a lot of volume. That's kind of the tone and the sound when you play heel up, and it's not as resonant. That's why I think heel up is kind of perfect for rock and the powerful styles. You want a lot of attack, you want a lot of volume and a lot of power, and with heel down you want a lot of resonance and you want that kind of subdued, sensitive, lot softer vibe going on in the bass drum. So that's the main difference between heel up and heel down. Like I said, when I sat behind the kit for the first time, it was heel up. Straight from the get-go, I didn't know anything else existed. I think it's really healthy to be aware of the different techniques. Something that I love to do with the bass drum is to play 2 strokes with 1 beater. You can use this technique with a double bass pedal if you want to, but when I started playing, I just had 1 pedal, and I remember I was jamming along to a song and this thing just happened on the bass drum. I was playing along to a Linkin Park song, I think it was. I was just playing and this double stroke just kind of popped out on the bass drum, and I was really surprised because I didn't even know you could do that. My spastic little foot kind of just blurted out this double stroke, and I was really surprised, and I tried to kind of hone in on it and practice it and get it under control. And the technique that I used, even though I had no clue I was using this, was the slide technique. And that's a technique that you use to produce a double stroke with 1 pedal and 1 beater. So not using the double bass, but using 1 foot to produce 2 strokes really closely together. Another technique that you can use to do this is called the heel toe. So I'll explain both. I'll just demo both quickly so you can see the difference between the two. And then I'll kind of just run through basic details of both techniques, pros and cons of each. So the one that I played totally by accident for the first time was the slide technique. That's what this sounds like. So you can see it's a pretty aggressive kind of primal movement. The spastic little foot kind of just blurts out those 2 strokes. It's a lot different from the heel toe. Let me just show you the heel toe. So just like the difference between heel up and heel down, I think you can kind of hear and see the same difference between using the slide technique and using the heel toe. The slide technique is really powerful and uses a lot of energy. It's a big motion, and the heel toe is a lot more subdued, a lot softer, not as much power, but it uses a lot less energy and it's a lot more fluid. So for rock, once again, I think slide is awesome because it's exceptionally powerful, but it uses a lot of energy. And I think for softer styles, the heel toe might be a bit better as well because it's more controlled, it's a little bit softer. I know from experience, and I can tell you that the slide technique is really hard to get under control because, well, not really hard, but a lot harder than the heel toe for me personally, because the slide technique is so muscle intensive. It uses many muscles in a really powerful way. So it takes a lot of physical practice to get the muscles to a place where they can move that fast. And with heel toe, it's much more technique based. So it's just a question of kind of grasping the technique of the heel toe and then being able to do that. Not as much physical muscle development. So if I can give you a tip, if you can't play double strokes with 1 foot and you would like to, I can definitely rather recommend the heel toe over the slide. I think slide should be step number 2 because it uses a lot more muscle. It's a nice technique to be able to play, especially for rock. But I think in terms of the learning curve and how easy it is to get under control and how efficient it is and how much less energy it uses than the slide, I would totally recommend you learn the heel toe if you're new to double strokes with 1 pedal. The cool thing about the heel toe is that with me, I'm right, like I lead with my right foot. So I'm right-footed, I guess, and if it's really easy for me to translate the heel toe technique to my left foot as well. So if you have a double bass pedal, you can really play double strokes pretty easily. Whereas if I wanted to use the slide technique to do this, it would have taken a very long time to get my really stupid and weak left leg up to a place where those muscles could produce 2 strokes of the same speed and of the same power as the right foot. So heel toe is awesome. I can totally recommend it, but I love being able to play slide as well, especially for the louder fills and the louder styles. Being able to play a double stroke that loud and that intense with one foot.